Yep, we're rolling for yet another fragrance review. Done one of these before. It's like a fragrance sample review. It's not who I normally use, but the company's name is Scented Samples, UK based company as far as I'm aware. They had a lot of niche and or clone fragrance samples available. So unlike samples.co.uk or I normally use, and I've put up a few videos from them on the channel, this is a bit of a different one. So I'm going to be doing a mixture of original fragrances as well as clones. Now I will stipulate that some of these clones are based purely off of reviews I've seen online, not so much me basing comparison between the originals. So I just thought I'd put that out there, because again, most of the fragrances I tend to review in terms of clones, 90% of them I would have smelt the original in some capacity. So with the clone reviews, I'll purely be just reviewing them based off of the quality that I perceive, rather than how, you know, close they are to the original. So I think I've got about 10 samples here, so I'm going to try and get through these as quickly as I can, albeit I'll still review them in as much detail as I can. So get my words out. I'll just stipulate again, I have already like in terms of my own review and notes that I've made, I've already tried all of these on the skin at some point, obviously one on one arm, one on the other, to test obviously performance on the skin, the sillage, the radiance, the quality, and doing different things, be it going to the gym, doing housework, working and whatever else. Sometimes just lazing around the house, just seeing again how they react on my skin, because again, I'm going to be, because I've got so many, I've not got enough arm space to do all these. I've got my tester strips ready. I have said this before and people do mention this, but I'll mention it again. Fragrance sampling in terms of if you want to see how it actually is going to act on your skin. Again, I know you can spray onto clothes, but won't be doing that today for obvious reasons, because I'm doing so many. The tester strips come in handy, but they don't always give an accurate account for how good the fragrance is on your skin, because again, everybody's skin chemistry is different, as is their smell or sense of smell. So I will stipulate that some of these fragrances are excellent on my skin, so we'll see how they are on the tester strip. Again, when it comes to the review notes I've already made are from when I've worn them on the skin. Again, I've had these samples probably a few weeks now, so you know, each day I wear one or two, so you can see how, you know, I've gone about this. So what we'll do, randomly pull them out, put them onto the tester, and see how we get on. So first one is Versache EROS, but the EDT. Now it's been years since I've smelt the EDT. About a year and a half ago roughly, I reviewed the EDP version. Before I even put this onto the strip, I don't need to spray it, because I know how this smells. It smells exactly like the EDP. In terms of the performance, I'd say that the radiance, again, by design of the EDT in comparison to the EDP, it's more in your face. It's actually more, as they coin the phrase, beast mode online. So it's very potent. The EDP does last, I would say, 10 to 12 hours on my skin. Obviously after about the 8-hour mark, it's a big skin scent, and obviously the EDT for what it is, it's a bit cheaper, and it lasts quite a few hours. I'd say about 8 hours on the skin, but the radiance is better in the EDT than the EDP for the first few hours. So make of that what you will. It depends what you want. It's very difficult to get something under 100, in my experience, under £100 for 100ml or less, that gives you the sillage, that gives you the radiance and the push or projection So you got the, you know, it's like an 8 out of 10, because for an EDT the performance radiance is excellent, but in my opinion I would pay a little bit more money and get the EDP, which lasts, like as I said, on my skin extra 4 hours on top of this, and the radiance isn't that much different. By design, EDTs tend to be very radiant and have a strong push to begin with. So yeah, there's nothing more I can say. I've already put a review up for the Versace EROS just to go over briefly what it is. It's like fresh, clean, ozonic kind of, I don't just want to say clubbing, it gets that summery clubbing kind of vibe, or how I perceive it, but it's very popular, it's very nice, mass appealing, most people would like it. It's an easy wear. I wouldn't just say for summer wear, evening, even in the winter. You know, you can wear it on multiple occasions, but it's very strong, very potent. So overall, yeah, I gave this a 7.5 out of 10 actually, because the EDP I gave an 8, purely because you pay a bit more money, but you get an extra 4 or 5 hours off the skin, or at least I do. So moving on to the next one, which will be Aqua de Palma, Fico de Amalfi. This is just a random buy. I know Aqua de Palma are a decent company, or what's classed as a premium company. I just put this on to remind me if it'll work. Some good stuff. There we go. I'll do the Freeze Sprays EDT. From memory, yeah, it's nice. It's nothing special. It actually reminds me of kind of like a Tom Ford, more like the Neroli, the Portofino, and then there's a Mandarino di Amalfi. So they're big mouthfuls, like Italian citrus type, you know, buy it in a boat on the beach, or just on the beach having like a drink, sangria or whatever. Don't know why I said sangria, I think that's Spanish. But yeah, it's kind of like a mixture of like powdery citrus. I get suntan lotion off of this, which is kind of amusing, because in the UK it's quite hot, hence I've got the fan on, but they do say that vanilla-y based or citrusy based fragrances like this, you do get that kind of suntan lotion vibe when it's not hot weather, but it is hot, hence I've got the fan on, or it's just how I perceive it. This does definitely smell more radiant on my skin than the strip, and quite different as well, I'd say, off of my skin from when I reviewed this, again, or notes I've made. Much more, well, I wouldn't say much more radiant, but a typical EDT, you know, 4 to 6 hours, nothing special. And again, this is a premium brand. I'm not sure of the pricing, but I know Aqua de Palma can be quite, or what I class as expensive or premium end. So yeah, I think I gave this like a 6 out of 10. Let me see, bring the book over, I'll actually be able to read it. Where is it? Aqua de Palma, yeah, 6 out of 10. It's nothing special. As I said, if you want to go for something like similar to this, you go for the Tom Ford, pay a bit more money, but the Mandarino di Amalfi and the trying to think Neroli Portofino, similar to that, summery vibes, nothing special, suntan and a bit of citrus, suntan lotion and a bit of citrus. But yeah, 6 out of 10. There's better out there, and I'll leave it at that. Next one, Rassasi Hawas Tropical. So I've reviewed on the channel not long ago Rassasi Hawas Original, which I believe is a clone of Paco Rabanne Invictus. That was very good, very projecting, long lasting, and an EDP. This, I believe, is meant to be a clone of it. It's either Jean Paul Gaultier Le Beau or Jean Paul Gaultier Paradise Garden. One of them, the kind of the summery, citrusy fruit one, pineapple-ish one. So, 3 onto the strip. Already very strong radiance, that of an EDT, but this is an EDP. Again, just to stipulate, I think Paradise Garden is an EDT, so if it's based on that, I can see why it's very projecting at the moment. Yeah, very nice. I think that it's very appealing. Citrusy fruit, pineapple-y, again, summer type vibe. Yeah, I really like this. I think I gave this an 8 out of 10. Sorry, a 7.5 out of 10. Because it's nothing special. I like it because I like Le Beau, and I like Paradise Garden from memory. I reviewed them a long time ago, and obviously I have a clone version of Le Beau. But I would say Le Beau I slightly prefer more than this. This is more sort of day wear, I would say, although it can be worn in the night, where Le Beau it's a bit more darker, or there's an element of darkness in there, but this is still very nice. And again, it's a clone, and Rassasi, as I said, I've only just really come into them more recently with the Rassasi Hawas, which is over there, which I gave an 8 out of 10 for. I don't tend to like very sweet fragrances, and I have not really liked Paco Rabanne fragrances for a long time. Maybe in my early 20s I like very sharp in your face, so I'd actually recommend the Rassasi Hawas if you're into Invictus, or you want something bubblegummy, sweet, clubbing, summery vibe. But this isn't far off, and from my nose this is a very good clone of either Le Beau or slightly veering towards Paradise Garden. They're very similar, but yeah, 7.5 out of 10 Rassasi Hawas Tropical. Doing alright for time, knocked out 3, and there's several more to go. So this is Afnan 9 PM. Now I already know that this is very popular online. This is a clone of Jean Paul Gaultier Ultra Male. In my opinion, this smells very similar to it, but I actually have, in my opinion, a slightly better version of this 9 PM, which, and slightly cheaper, a lot cheaper actually, half the price of this, called Rams Lataffa, or Rams by Lataffa. That is like a like-for-like clone of Jean Paul Gaultier Ultra Male. This is slightly nuanced difference, this 9 PM by Afnan. Again, I know this is very popular online. I'm not going to say it's bad. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, but I just think the Rams Lataffa I would prefer because it's slightly cheaper. You get the same amount, and where, again, I won't go into all of this, but you can end up buying bad batch clones of this, because I looked into it, because I was actually going to purchase this bottle at one point, but then I've since found what's meant to be a stronger version of Ultra Male. I think it's an Armath Lionheart, it's something like that. But anyway, so yeah, this smells very good, very similar to Ultra Male 9 PM. All comments and reviews you would see online. I'm not going to go over that because I'll just be repeating what has already been said. Bubblegummy, sweet. The grape note I perceive as sort of like a bubblegummy smell. Very nice, like appealing. I don't want to say unisex, but I think certain women could wear this as well because of the sweetness of it. But yeah, nothing special though, 7 out of 10. And as I said, I actually prefer the Rams by Lataffa. Slightly more projecting than this. In terms of longevity, they're about the same, like a 6-hour mark on my skin. But yeah, 7 out of 10. I know this is very popular online, but in my opinion, I prefer the Rams by Lataffa. Although this is a very close clone of Jean Paul Gaultier Ultra Male, but you pay more money for it, so it, you know, if they both smell 90% of the clone and you can get a cheaper version, why would you pay more money? But again, as I say, that's how I perceive it, and on people's skin it might be a bit different. Okay, so we've got French Avenue one here. This is called Vulcan FEU, and I believe this is a clone of God of Fire. I can't remember the brand name, but I know that it's meant to be a very popular fragrance, very expensive. So it's on the skin. I remember this being quite different to what I'm used to. So I get a very strong, like, melon sweetness off the top, and like a element in the background, like a sort of smoky pepperiness in the middle or in the backbone. So very nice, different. Again, most citruses tend to be like bergamot, pineapple, orange blossom, that sort of thing. So this being melon, and now like it's getting a bit smokier. I remember this being quite nice. I gave it a 7 out of 10 purely because the performance wasn't great and it died down quite quickly on my skin, but it's very nice and very pleasant. If anything, it does smell a little bit more smokier on the strip already than on my skin, which was very citrus heavy. Now again, very citrus heavy fragrances, they tend to be very fleeting and short lived on my skin, and I think on a lot of people as well. It's just the nature of citruses. They tend to be very volatile. They go on the skin and then they come off the skin quite easily, hence their top notes, but they don't tend to have longevity, shall we say. So I'm actually gonna remark this because I've put a 7 out of 10. Let me get my pen. What have I done with my pen? Go with a pencil. Oh, there it is. Right, so I was going to give this a 7 out of 10 for the Vulcan Fur or Few by French Avenue, which again is a clone of God of Fire, and I'm not sure the brand, that's just the name of the fragrance. So I was originally going to give this a 7, but I'm going to review or re-review this as a 7.5 because I'm picking up the smokiness aspect, which I didn't before on the skin. That could have been a mixture of that, you know, I wasn't hot that day like I am today, albeit I've not got this on the skin. This is off the test strip. So it again, that smoky sort of darkness there is quite nice. Again, I like that in certain fragrances. So 7.5 for the Vulcan Fur. Originally was going to give it a 7. That's why it's good to write or take notes, because again, you can always review and repurpose a review, because again, different environments, how you heat up, you know, if you've got a cold, if you this, that and the other, you know, I'm kind of grateful that I've revisited that, because originally I just thought that's a citrusy melon smell, but today and smelling it off the strip, I'm getting that smokiness, which is a bit different. Maybe that's why it was based off the fragrance called God of Fire, because the fire image of the, you know, the smokiness. That's quite clever. But anyway, so Afnan Turathi Blue. I know that this is very popular online. Can't remember what this is based off, but this is a clone fragrance. So I put this onto the tester. Remember this being, I think, blue and ozonic by nature. There we go. This is an EDP, I believe. Yeah, Eau de Parfum. It's going for a closer inspection. Yeah, very nice. It's kind of a different take on a sort of blue fragrance. Sort of, I do get sea vibes from this, like, you know, proper by the ocean. Similar, I would say, to like a Cool Water Davidoff original. Again, it doesn't smell like that, but that's the kind of image I'm already getting. Aqua di Gio by Armani, that's another one. Not very potent, I remember, not just off of the strip, but off of my arm, but then that's something in common with Aqua di Gio, sadly. And more recently I did a Liam Blue Shine by Lataffa, which is a clone of Aqua di Gio. It's either Profundo or one of them. Very nice smell profile like this, but faint and not too projecting. Again, this tends to be the problem with these sort of citrusy, beach, summery vibe fragrances, at least for me. One thing I can say, at least with Aqua di Gio or the Liam Shine, the push and radiance is very pronounced for the first hour, and then it fades away to like barely a skin scent. You really got to get in there. And the same with this, even off the strip, it is not radiant at all like all of the others that I've sprayed. You get that radiance, where this is, I'm really having to get in there. Nice though, but again, nothing special. It is slightly more projecting off the skin, I will add that. Where is it? I gave it a 7 out of 10. Yeah, so off of the strip I'd give it like a 6, but obviously the fact that it was a bit more projecting off of my skin, I'd give it a 7. But you know, take it or leave it. There's plenty of other blue fragrances, but they all do tend to have, or the ones that I've reviewed more recently, they tend to be very short-lived and a bit iffy performance off of my skin, and a lot of people as well. A lot of people say the same, or reviews I've seen online. So now we have an excellent one. This is Lataffa Khamrah, but this is their latest Duhkan. I have behind me, and I've done a review on the channel, Lataffa Khamrah. I think I gave it like an 8 or an 8.5. Very sweet, more wintry, but I wouldn't just necessarily okay, I'm dyslexic, but yeah, you get what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't necessarily, I'm not going to say it anymore. I wouldn't say that it's just a winter only fragrance, as again, or fall, like a lot of reviews online stipulate and say. This is a slightly nuanced version of this. Again, I'm going to put it onto the strip to remind myself. I found the dry down to be exactly like Khamrah, which is very nice. It's sort of like the praline, sweet, bit smoky, but very, very sweet. Some people would say unisex. Yeah, maybe. I still find it masculine though, but you've got a like sweet or sweetness in your fragrance. I remember this being one of the strongest ones that I've sampled more recently. Yeah, already I can't go straight in there. Unlike some of the others, it's very strong. But it's just got a nuanced difference about it. I actually kind of prefer it more than the original Khamrah. The dry down in the mid is very similar, but the opening, it's just not overly sweet. It's almost like they've toned down the sweetness at the start, made it a bit more masculine leading. It's kind of got like a boozy, or how I perceive it, like a booziness about it. But it's also got that smoky darkness about it. It's almost like this is the kind of the going out version of Khamrah. I'm not going to say can't wear Khamrah out. Again, these are sort of based off of Killian's, or by Killian's Angel Share. I know like that's touted, or that line is touted a lot online, but you know, that's what it's meant to be a clone of, or a take on. But yeah, what did I give this? I think it was an 8.5. No, an 8 out of 10. So the same mark that I give Khamrah, just a different take on it. So if you like that sweet, kind of boozy, going out kind of vibe, bit smokiness, then Lataffa Khamrah Duhkan, I give an 8 out of 10. So this is the best one I've used so far of these. It's very good. I would buy a bottle of that. I'd recommend buying a bottle if you like that sort of thing. Oh, just pulled the lid out, but not the fragrance. Okay, so this one I liked as soon as I smelt it. I even bought a bottle of it. So this is very different than anything I've got. The weird thing is, when I smelt this, there's a note that almost like transported me back to the 90s, or like a fragrance that I'd smelt somewhere premium and very expensive. I don't know what this is meant to be a clone of. I know that it's meant to be a clone of something very popular, but this is Liquid Brun by French Avenue. So the reason why I bought the bottle, as I said, it was a nice jog of a memory from many years ago, and the actual smell profile, very radiant as well. It's an EDP. Yeah, it's just very, I find it very appealing. It's a kind of like a smoky, syrupy sweetness in there, but not overly done. Yeah, like a caramel kind of praline sweetness, but a darkness about it as well. So it's sort of a going out, date, clubbing sort of smell. But very strong. I remember stronger on my skin than on this, hence why the minute I put it on I was like, oh lovely, and then after about 6 to 8 hours it was still fairly radiant on my skin, hence you can see why, you know, first time sampling it, first time smelling it, I ended up buying a bottle, which is behind me here. not obviously used this yet. I just ordered it as soon, you know, that sample I used 2 weeks ago. I was like, right, I'm going to have to order this. So this is French Avenue Liquid Brun. I think I gave this like an 8 or an 8.5 out of 10. Where is it? 8.5 out of 10. So I really like this. The performance of radiance was good. Sweet, syrupy sweet, quite a bit of darkness about it, a bit of smokiness, so quite different. Yeah, really nice. So I'll recommend that, like with the Duhkan, very strong, radiant, sweet, but smoky, and obviously the Duhkan is a kind of a take on Khamrah, but with a booziness about it. So almost there. Almost there. So Afnan Supremecy Collector's Edition. This, I believe, is like again another take or another clone of Creed Aventus, but this is the absolute version. I remember this being very nice because most people like Creed Aventus, or it's very easy wear. That's appealing. Just put the lid on. Go in for a closer inspection. Yeah, so you got like that kind of pineapple-y, fresh vibe. More smoky than Creed Aventus. I think that's the take with Absolute. It's sort of like a stronger, smokier, darker version. You got the fruits in the background, but primarily I'm getting like smoke and pineapple. I think I like this actually because, again, unlike a lot of clones or even the originals, this was quite radiant off of my skin. The longevity is similar to most EDPs. There's like a 6 to 8 hour, nothing special in that regard, but the performance in terms of radiance was pretty good, considering it's like a citrus heavy fragrance. But primarily I'm getting like a sort of smoky woodiness at the moment. Again, obviously as it dries down, like with all the Creed Aventus clones, it becomes more woody. But yeah, very nice, and it's not too overly sweet with the pineapple. I'd say it veers more towards that smokiness, hence as I mentioned before, it's like a slightly different take on Creed Aventus. So where is it? Afnan Supremecy, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. This is a collector's edition. I believe the bottle's white. There's a black bottle as well, but it's the white one. You pay a bit more money though, that's one thing I will say. It's like 40 to 45. I know I've not mentioned pricing with the others because I was curious with this. I checked it out because, again, obviously I was considering or will consider buying it. So yeah, 7.5 out of 10. It's decent, it's above average. So I'd recommend that if you like Creed, Aventus or Absolute. Okay, 3 more to go. Right, I'm going to save that till the end because that's like beast mood. It's really strong, and I won't be able to smell anything else if I even just take the lid off of that. That's how potent that is. So we're down to another clone, Lataffa Liam Grey. It's just got Liam on it, but it's Liam Grey EDP. I think this is a clone of BDK by Chanel, or the Chanel. That's what it's a clone of. I'd never heard of it, but again, I just wanted to sample it because it's meant to be quite popular, and I could obtain a sample of it. So rather than forking out on a bottle and not liking it, that's why I do these samples, and to help whoever manages to watch this video. Okay, it's quite potent, so let's just let it dry down a bit. Yeah, it's okay. It's sort of like, I don't want to just say like a run-of-the-mill fragrance, like you would have smelt it before. Nothing really sticks out, it's just well blended. It's kind of like, I think this is an easily worn fragrance. Most men could wear this in different environments. It's not too overly offensive, so I would say it's more of like an office day wear than going out. Kind of like a relaxingness about it. There's sort of like a note in the background. It's sort of like, how I would describe it is relaxing. I think there's meant to be a tea note in there. I don't drink tea personally. I'm not really a fan of tea. Sort of coming out now a bit more like, I don't want to say smokiness, but again, like medicinal, kind of relaxing vibe. That, I think it probably is a tea. It could be oolong tea or a certain type of tea, but again, nothing special in comparison to everything else I've just reviewed, where, you know, they've got nuanced differences. I can see places and people it could be worn for. With this, it's just an easily worn clone, I'm guessing. So I think I gave it like a 7 out of 10. Liam Grey, again, more radiant off the skin. That's one thing I do say. For these strips, it's not, doesn't really always give it that kind of its oomph and power like it does off of the skin. So 7 out of 10. Liam Grey by Lataffa, a clone of BDK to Chanel by Chanel, whatever. Yeah, it's okay. Right, so I've got 2 more to go. Got another, finishing with another Lataffa vintage radio. This is popular. I'm not quite sure what it's a clone of. I also give this a 7 out of 10, but I'll rekindle my memory of this with the smell profile at least. Yeah, so this straight away I prefer slightly more than the Liam Grey. It has a bit more about it. It has like a plum note from memory, or how I perceive it. It's sort of like them, like, again, I'm showing my age, like sort of like hard-boiled candies or like cough sweets, that kind of eucalyptus honey sweetness, but in plum form, which is different. I don't think I've ever smelt plum in a fragrance before, but that's what I get off of the top. It's kind of got like a fizziness about it as well, like lemonade. Yeah, I actually I gave this a 7 out of 10 before, but I'm actually going to revisit that again. I'm just doing the top notes. As I say, the marks I've already put down. I've reviewed this on the skin in terms of longevity, performance, but again, if I'm giving like the Liam Grey a 7, I actually prefer this vintage radio, so I've got to give that a 7.5 as well, or a 7.5. So I'll redo that from the 7 to 7.5. Very nice. Not overly sweet. I think, again, it's quite different, or how I perceive it, like that fizzy sort of lemonadiness mixed with the plum or the sweet, almost raspberry type sweet note in there. Very nice. Hence a 7.5 out of 10. Now we move on to the last one, which I've got there. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I heard that this is the strongest fragrance that you can buy. It's up there. Definitely up there. This is called Kerosene Followed, and it's an EDP. This, when I opened this, it was so strong. When I put it on my skin, it was even stronger, so much so that I could still smell it almost 16 hours after I applied it. The next day on my skin and on clothes, it was still there. I think, obviously, because I didn't wash the top. So this is very potent. You don't need to spray a lot of it. I'm literally going to do 1 spray. Usually I do 3 with an EDP, but yeah, just opening it, I can smell it. Trying to spray it away from myself. Yeah, just the 1. So I gave this an 8 out of 10. You'd think, oh, it must be a 10 out of 10. The reason why it gets the 8 is because primarily this is a heavily based coffee note. Not that I don't like coffee, but I like it as a subtle note in fragrances. This is being in a coffee shop. If you love a coffee shop, if you love coffee, and even how it dries down, it kind of loses that as much of the coffee note, and it becomes a bit sweet, a bit woody. But you must really like coffee to like this, and it's very potent. It's a shame in a way that they don't die down the coffee note and that it's something else in there. Is kind of linear, but what it does do, as I say, the radiance of performance, 10 out of 10. but I just don't enjoy I'm not a coffee drinker. I like coffee. I've got some fragrances where there is coffee note in there, but personally I'd say this is worth trying, but you really have to like coffee, because again I'm not even near this, and it's so potent. The radiance performance is excellent. I give it an 8 out of 10. If it was, the coffee was died down a bit and it was slightly more about it, I'd give it closer to a 9. It is excellent though. I'm not quite sure the pricing. I think it's fairly expensive. It's like a niche brand, but I'm really glad I got to sample it, because again, usually when you hear about beast mode or last a month on my skin, that sort of thing, it's just a load of rubbish talk. But as I say, this lasts over a day on my skin, and already it's very strong. It's almost too strong. Again, I'm not going to big it up so much so that someone reads this and go, oh, no, I couldn't smell it or whatever. Some people would probably go nose blind to this, but for me, this is just so potent that, you know, if you want to smell like a coffee shop, or you really like coffee, or people around you really like coffee, highly recommended. I still give it an 8 out of 10. I personally wouldn't wear this because I'm not a big fan of coffee, but I like it in formula because of that smokiness, that sort of chocolatey cacao vibe it gives. But yeah, very nice. So we end it there. 8 out of 10 for the followed by Kerosene. And we'll just, to finish the video, do a little recap of what I gave everything and what I've reviewed so far in this video. I'm going to do a follow-up because obviously that's just the samples there. I also have some samples, more samples to review. So we've done Afnan 9 PM EDP. I gave a 7 out of 10. I personally prefer the runs by Lataffa, which is again a clone of Jean Paul Gaultier Ultra Male. It's cheaper, so why would you not go for that? Lataffa Vintage Radio, I give a 7.5 out of 10. The plum sort of raspberry hard-boiled candy sweetness and the fizziness is very pleasant. So I might look to pick up a bottle of that. That's a clone again of a popular fragrance, niche fragrance, that name escapes me. French Avenue Liquid Brun, I gave an 8.5 out of 10. Straight away, sampled it, bought a bottle of it. I know it's very popular online, and I know it's based on a popular, it's a clone of a popular fragrance. Lataffa Liam Grey, it's like a 7 out of 10. It's a whatever. It's probably a very good take or clone. It's relaxing, it's easily worn or wearable. The performance radiance is standard. But yeah, Afnan Supremecy EDP, I give a 7.5 out of 10. That's like a slightly different nuanced take on Creed Aventus, or I should say rather more of a take on Creed Aventus Absolute. Lataffa Khamrah Duhkan, I give that an 8 out of 10. That's just again a different take on Lataffa Khamrah, but it has a slightly like more boozy, darker vibe to begin with, but the dry down is, or both of the Khamrah dry downs are the same. 8 out of 10 there. French Avenue Vulcan Feu or Fur, a clone of God of Fire. I give that a 7.5 out of 10. I actually re-reviewed that because off of the strip I was able to detect more of a smoky darkness about it, which with a mango you'd think of it's a bit of a strange combination, but I quite like that. That was different to me. Afnan Turathi Blue, again a bit like the Liam Grey, easily worn. Most people could get away with it. It's more like a designer sort of box standard fragrance, like a traditional Hugo Boss, Lacoste, Armani. Not too offensive, not too this, not too that. 7 out of 10. Versace Hawas Tropical, I gave a 7.5 out of 10. I like the House Rassasi. I'm going to look into more of their fragrances there. I think they're well regarded. This is a clone of either Le Beau or / Paradise Garden by Jean Paul Gaultier, 7.5 out of 10. Aqua de Palma, Fico de Amalfi, that's an EDT though, the only EDT, or one of the EDTs, I've got another one coming up. Give that a 6 out of 10. It's whatever, it's quite expensive for what it is, nothing special. It's just like a blue citrusy fragrance, but not like there's not many out there. There's better alternatives like Aqua de Gio, even Davidoff Cool Water I preferred. So yeah, then Versace EROS EDT, I own the EDP behind me somewhere amongst all my other fragrances. Yeah, I gave that a 7.5 out of 10. Personally, I pay a bit more money, get the EDP, but still very good. And then finish on the Monster Kerosene, or Followed by Kerosene EDP. If you love coffee, I'm still smelling it now. I've put it quite far away. You've got all them samples there, but I'm just picking up that coffee. If you love coffee, if you like coffee note that's very prominent, being in a coffee shop, buy that. I think it's worth sampling because the radiance of performance on my skin, it goes over a day. On clothes, I dread to think. I had to top wash not long after I sprayed it. 8 out of 10. So yeah, gone through them all. It was like what, 8, 9 fragrances I reviewed there. Again, it's quite a long video, but again, I've gone in as much detail as I can. I've done it as quick fire as I can. I've done comparisons. I've gone over my notes. I've even re-reviewed 2 of the fragrances, or 3. I think it's 2 actually. Anyway, I shut up. I'll stop the video. And again, I hope that this video is informative and helps whoever manages to find it and watch it. So, Liam's signing out for now. Until, well, not part 2, because the next fragrance that I'll review will be the liquid Brun. I'll do a more dedicated review of that, and then obviously I've got a load of more samples to come. So yeah, so stay tuned.